YouTube, how are you guys? This is your girl Nicole Knox. I am your divorce and relationship coach. I do apologize for that pause. There's a lot of construction going on outside my home. But back to you guys. Apologize for that. Again, welcome to my channel. I am Nicole Knox, your divorce and relationship coach. And today we're going to be discussing a very, very difficult topic. Walking away. Being able to walk away and walking away from a relationship, a job, or just anything that does no longer serve you, and the difficulty in it and being able to do it. Lately I've been getting mainly from marriage people about walking away from their marriage and no longer being able to do it, and would I pray for them, and what was my advice or take on walking away from a marriage. And first I want to give my own personal background in walking away. I was in a 20-year relationship with my ex-husband, and towards the end of our marriage, my ex-husband had cheated, and he decided that he no longer wanted to be in a relationship anymore. He didn't want to be married anymore, but we still lived in the same home. I'm in California, so community property, you would have to go get this person put out, things of that nature. But anyways, through our divorce proceedings, we still lived in the same home. And during our divorce proceedings, my ex-husband had changed his mind, but I knew I no longer wanted to be married to him. And during our separation, and while he, dated other women and things of that nature, I went to counseling and I got healing. And I became whole during that process because I spent a lot of time alone. And one of the things that I learned towards being at the end of that was that I didn't want to be in that relationship anymore, and it no longer served me. So I told my ex-husband while we were going through the divorce that I still wanted to continue with the divorce. And so one day while he was at work, I had packed up my whole entire house, me and my children's things, and I had moved out. And I think the hardest thing was walking away and being first afraid of what my ex-husband would have did. And then secondly, it was how my kids felt that I no longer wanted to try. And how I came to that decision was my ex-husband going to change? And my reality at that time was, no, he wasn't. He was not going to change. I had watched his behavior through our divorce proceedings. And again, we still lived in the same house. So I watched my ex-husband date women. I watched him go through several girlfriends. I watched it play out on social media, and we still lived in the same home. So for me, there was nothing for me to fight for. And in the end, even though he wanted us to stay married and work on it, I had already done that. I had already went to counseling for 3 years. I had already, and mind you, I did not date anyone. I want to make this very clear. While I was a married woman, I did not date. I actually remained a kept wife, a wife that did not stray, not because I believe in marriage, and I don't believe in defiling the marriage bed. So until I was completely divorced, I didn't date, I didn't have sex, I didn't engage anything that would come upon me as that I did something like that in our marriage. And so it was the hardest thing because my children were pre-teenagers, and I had just had our 5th child, which was an infant at that time. And of course it was going to tear apart our family, even though he had already tore it apart with the cheating. Divorce is very difficult. It's the most painful experience I've ever experienced in my life. It's not an easy decision to come by. And I understand that walking away is not an easy decision to come by. But the questions that you have to ask yourself is this person in fact going to change? And that was my reality. My reality was, you became better. You went to counseling. You addressed the issues and the bad things, or the things that you brought into this marriage, or into this relationship. And was this person going to change? And my reality was, no, he wasn't. He wasn't going to get any better. He was just getting worse. And I remember packing up my entire house while he was at work. I did it all in one day. I'm actually very shocked. I did it by myself. I didn't involve people. I've been looking for my own place for a while, separate from him. And then I just was so determined to get out of that hellhole of a life that I was in. And I had completely packed it up. And yes, I gave myself time to cry and fall apart. And, you know, the reality of this is the end of my relationship. But I don't regret it. To be honest with you, what are you going to experience? You're going to go through the 5 stages of grief of a person that dies. When you lose a person to death, anything that you've held on to so tightly for a very long time, it's a death. It's a death. And I don't even want to sugarcoat it and say that it's not going to be hard or painful. It's a death. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. But my reality was, stay in this situation where I almost died from suicide. I almost died in other situations, and suffer and be depressed and have PTSD and anxiety and panic attacks and this hellhole that I was already in. I was already by myself. Or take a chance on me. And I took a chance on me. And I want, yes, you're going to grieve. You're going to debate with yourself, and you're going to go back and forth. And yes, and the reality is, and did I go through where a point in time, and I think the toughest part about walking away when you have kids in a marriage is your kids. It's the kids. My daughter hated me for years. And mind you, I'm not the one that cheated. I'm not the one even that filed for divorce. I'm just the one that agreed and packed up the house and left. But she hated me. And that took years. And when I mean I'm still working on that, that was the hardest part. My daughter being upset with me that I didn't continue to keep fighting. In her eyes, that I didn't stay with her dad. So if anything, for me, that's going to be the biggest hurdle. If you have children, the one that leaves, it's always the angry with the one that leaves. And so I want to say this. You're going to go through the 5 stages of grief. If you have children, I want to prepare you. Oh man, that was hard. But did me and my children get through it? Yes, we did. Was there a light at the end of the tunnel, and are we a lot better from me walking away? Yes. How did I walk away? I sat down on my bed and I asked myself, was this person ever going to change? And my answer was no. Secondly, truthfully, did this person want me? No, they did not. And that was the lowest part, was that I gave 20 years to this man, and finally after 20 years my reality was, this man did not love me. I loved that man, and even though love had faded on my side, I still never went anywhere. I still never strayed from the relationship. But that isn't, I just was there physically, but I wasn't there mentally, which played another part in to my ex-husband's cheating. And my reality was, could even if, with counseling and everything, could we rekindle that love? And my reality was no. Because we came together in a toxic situation and it just was no good for neither one of us. So I really sat down and had a epiphany, eye opener, come to Jesus moment with myself. And I had to ask myself, what, Nicole, are you fighting for? You don't have to be divorced from, but you don't have to be in the same house. And that was my reality. This man does not love you. You're just allowing this person to mistreat you. Your confidence is that low. And it's time to go. And it's okay. I mean, rejection is, it's so tough. I'm not going to lie to you. But that was my reality. And was our lives ever going to get any better? No, I was always going to struggle with him. We came from two different worlds, two different backgrounds. So our life was never, we had been together 20 years. This was a 20-year thing. My ex-husband and I have been together since middle school. Lost my virginity to my ex-husband. So my reality was there any possibility of this getting better? And my reality was no. Then another thing about the reality was, I was the only one fighting. There's so many people in relationships, dating people, married to people, and you're the only one fighting. Stop. If you're the only one fighting, if you're the only one trying, it's time to make that decision to walk away. And I want to say this, that was not my only relationship. I had dated somebody after my ex-husband, and I loved this man very, 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 very much. I loved him more than I loved my ex-husband. But my reality was, where was he and I gonna go? Was I gonna be in a relationship with this man? What were we doing? And there was things about him that weren't bad, but my reality was, is this something that you could deal with for the rest of your life? And does it serve you? Or will this person have to require for you to change? And then I was like, dang, asking that person to change this thing about them would basically change who they really are. And that's not right of me to ask somebody that's their core of them. They're happy with that. And one day I looked up and I loved him so much. I had to tell myself, you're willing to put up with all of this knowing that this is going to go nowhere. And he's not even offering you anything as much as you love him. And my reality was, I loved myself more. So I walked away from that. And that broke me more than my relationship with my ex-husband, because this person was my best friend. I loved him. I loved his children. I loved his family. And I had told God, like, if I don't even have him as a friend, Jesus, what am I going to do? I needed him. I needed his friendship. I needed his love. I needed his support. And I had to learn that through healing, that those things come surprisingly from within. I was all of those things. So I want to encourage anyone that is struggling with walking away from the person that they think is the love of their life, and they're not going to make it, and they're not going to be able to do it, and oh my God, I'm going to be scared, and I'm going to be by myself. My reality is, and my reality on both of those situations was, I was already by myself. I loved two men that at the end was not going to be mine forever. I was already by myself. So why not take a chance on me? Me by myself. something that I learned from my grandfather when I was a little girl. He used to say, if you're going to do bad by yourself. Why do bad with another person? And that was another one of my reality was you're holding on to two men that, yes, do they love you? To this very day, does both of those men still very much love me? Yes. But were they going to be in a relationship with me and be good men to me? Were they going to be everything that I wanted them to be or needed them to be? Were they my husbands or something that I needed? And my reality was no. And they were going to treat me, they were going to do whatever they want. It was going to be up to me to say, I'm not going to be treated like this. I deserve better. And I want to say to anybody that is contemplating, do I walk away? If you're already contemplating, should I walk away? And you're already looking at things, he's already cheated on me. He's already disrespected me. He's already done these things. I'm already alone. I'm the only one trying. I'm the only one that cares. Then what are we talking about? But we like to rationalize in our head. And I'm subject to this. I do this as well. Like, oh, it doesn't look that way, or he doesn't mean it, or oh my gosh, like maybe I'm tripping. And the reality of it, ladies and men, I want you to know when you your body knows when you're being treated bad. It's our minds that rationalize. And if you're a good-hearted person like myself, you always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. And one of the negatives for people like myself that are good-hearted people, we give people way too much credit that they haven't earned nor deserve. And so I want to say, walk away. And I want to also add to it, those two men, I have never looked back. I've been divorced from my ex-husband 5 years. This month. 5 years. And the other man, it's been 3 years. Never looked back. I have not flirted with these men. I have not. And my ex-husband and I share 5 children together. And a lot of people say, how do you guys do it without the fine? It's called boundaries. We're divorced. So there's no dating. There's no inappropriate talk. There's no inappropriate touching, no kissing, no hugging. There has not been any sexual intercourse in between us in over 5 years. The other man as well been over 3 years. I have, because in my mind, what I told myself was, you want it better for yourself. And these two men made it very clear they weren't going to give you better. They weren't even going to give you what you wanted. So when you have that in your mind and that's your reality, it doesn't even cross your mind to even go back. Because you already know deep down inside, this man does not want me. Now, whatever I do for this man, which for neither one of these men, I don't do anything because they made it very clear to me. You want a relationship, I don't. You wanted to fix our marriage, I didn't. And so that reality was, at that point, I'm just hurting myself. And I want people to stop trying to convince people in changing their mind. It doesn't work. First of all, it's unrealistic. And then you have to ask yourself too, if you had it made up in your mind that you did not want to be with somebody, and they tried to manipulate you into being with them, how would you feel? So neither one of those men, once they said what it was, I let it go. And I walked away. And I never went back. And to be quite honest with you, neither one of those men came back saying anything different in the conversation. They never came back and said, oh, you know what? I changed my mind. I want a relationship with you. Or I changed my mind. No. Pay attention to how people treat you. And that's in friendship, relationship, work. Understand when people or places say they're not going to treat you any better than how they want to treat you, no matter what you want. Be okay with saying, it's time for me to move on. I'm going to do a confidence series, and I'm going to do some videos on confidence, because a lot of you are going to say, oh, how did you get the confidence to move on or to leave? I want to make it very clear. I had my self-esteem. My ex-husband cheated on me with so many women. It was crazy. So many women. It was ridiculous. So my self-esteem during that time, I was pregnant. I also had our fifth child. I was ugly. Anybody that ever had kids, when I'm depressed, I cut off all my hair. So I looked during this extremely bad. I was 180 pounds, I think 170, but it was like a sloppy 170, 180 pounds. Like, I really looked and felt bad. Then I was depressed. I was suffering from PTSD. I was suffering from anxiety. I was suffering from panic attacks. I had completely lost my mind during this period of time in my life. So I had zero confidence, zero self-esteem. I was down in the muck of the mire. But I knew I did not want to die. I just didn't want my kids to see me die that way. That's the thing that made me say, let's pack it up and get it together. I have 4 daughters and a son. And it was something about my children looking at me this way that said, I have to get the hell out of this situation. I don't want to even teach my daughters that it's okay to be treated like this. And that's what made me say, let's get out of here. Let's pack it up and go. Let me drag myself from the pits of fucking hell to get me out of this situation, because I'm already by myself. I'm already alone. There hasn't been, at that point, my ex-husband and I hadn't slept in the same bed or even in the same room in 3 years at that point. So what was I waiting for? So I say that to say this: when you guys say, oh, the confidence, I had to rebuild all of that. So I'm going to drop some videos on how I did that, and how we're going to get you women confident enough to even be able to walk away and stay away. That's the major thing. Stay away. There's so many people going back, and they're going back, and the people are the same. They're not even different. You got to walk away and never go back. And be relentless with it. Be so gung-ho about it. Like, that's an old chapter of my life, baby. You're back there. It's all right. Because a lot of these people are not changed. At all. Not changed at all. I don't even understand why people are getting second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances. I've done it before. I'm just saying, they're not changed. But we're going to talk about it. I'm going to do a series on confidence. You guys can sign up for my classes for it. Also, too, there's going to be a link down below with my book on how you guys can see how I did it, read about it, go through my whole entire life, and stay tuned for my next video. Enjoy the rest of your guys' day.